Welcome back, 6:41 on Daybreak, and it's time for another unknown story of Western New York. And the song, "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald," tells the story of a ship that went down on Lake Superior, a story that is eerily similar to that of a Western New York man.
Yeah, almost a century ago, the gales of November came early and took out a ship captained by a South Buffalo skipper. But as we find in this morning's unknown story, this tale has a much happier ending. For StarPoint's Director of Special Ed, Brian Farrell, education is a lifelong journey. And for much of his adult life, that journey has led him up his own family tree.
That ship that was built was like the grandest ship of the Great Lakes Transit Corporation.
And it was built right there.
It was built right here.
A journey that set sail on a ship named the Chicago, built in 1901 in the old Buffalo Dry Docks, which operated next door to where Riverworks is today. A ship that his great-grandfather, Patrick Farrell, captained 28 years later with a crew of 31 fellow Buffalonians.
He sailed out of Duluth, Minnesota on October 21st in beautiful calm skies, sunny days.
Sunny skies that quickly darkened. The clouds grew heavy and the waters of Lake Superior grew angry. And as he passed Devil's Island,
that's when he was sailing right into hell.
Hell in the form of a storm that swept across the Great Lakes, a tempest that whipped the waters into a frenzy.
You had 50-mile-an-hour gales that were happening and about 10, 15-foot waves.
To the point where they spent 2 days out in the middle of Lake Superior, slowly going in and out of waves.
A blizzard condition started, and it started to snow, and ice was forming on the ship.
The ship was ultimately pushed off course.
Thinking they were headed towards Whitefish Bay to get to Sault Ste. Marie, and they actually wound up on the rocks on the western shores of Michipigatchen Island.
And the beached ship was eventually swallowed by the torrid waters.
They were stranded on the island for 3 days, and with food and water supplies.
But the story of the stranded sailors overtook headlines around the world. Shipwrecked sailors may die in storm, reads one. Sailors face starvation on desolate isle, reads another. And the Buffalo Courier-Express reported 32 Buffalo sailors face death. But that story also included an optimistic quote from the wife of the skipper, Brian's great-grandmother.
And she felt very confident that they would survive based on how large and strong they were.
Soon enough, as the headlines read, she was proven right, as all 32 men were rescued unharmed.
Researching this has been like being a detective, and I think that's what I love about history, is looking through those primary sources and finding bits and pieces, and it leads you to another piece of the story.
Brian was even able to track down a scuba diver named Ken Merriman, who had shot underwater video of the wreck of the Chicago as she sits on the floor of Superior today.
I sat down, I was overwhelmed by it, emotional, was able to pull it up, and there it was.
Brian just wishes that his father, who he bought this brick at Canalside in honor of, would have had the chance to see the video. A video, an unknown story of Western New York, and a family story of heroics and survival that Brian will now pass along to his children. Yeah, it's a story that, obviously his dad told him and his dad before him, but just an amazing story. And I love the quote from his great-grandmother, because she's talking about these were big, sturdy South Buffalo guys.
Yes, they're big and strong men. They'll be just fine on an island in the middle of Lake Superior.
Big. They've got enough to keep them warm, Yeah.
Girth. I bet they didn't have beer with them on the island as they're stranded there waiting to be rescued.
You never know. They were South Buffalo boys.